Welcome to Barn Banter, the podcast by Horse Illustrated. Each month, we bring guests to educate, entertain, or inspire you as you pursue the horsey lifestyle, plus an adoptable horse with a unique story. I'm Susan Friedland, an equestrian author, blogger, and speaker with a soft spot for off-track thoroughbreds. You can find me at my blog, saddleseekshorse.com, or on Facebook or Instagram at saddleseekshorse.
And I'm Holly Kakanis, editor-in-chief of Horse Illustrated and Young Rider magazines. You can find us at horseillustrated.com, youngrider.com, and Horse Illustrated and Young Rider on Instagram and Facebook.
Hello again, Holly. Hey, I need to let the listeners know that we just came back from Lexington, Kentucky. Do you want to tell them why we were there?
Sure. We were at the American Horse Publications Equine Media Awards and Conference. So there were 2 days of conference sessions for equine media and an awards night and a tour of the bluegrass, which I was not there in time to take.
I was there. It was awesome.
Oh, you were?
Yes, we got to go to Double Dan. Dan James Farm.
Excellent.
And he did a Liberty demonstration for us with Swampy, who is a horse that's been on Heartland. And it was so funny because I don't know how you feel about audience participation, but I am always afraid if I'm in a setting that they're going to be like, hey, you lady in the, whatever. And it's like, no, I don't want to be chosen.
Oh, I'm terrible. That's probably one of my top fears is like.
Yeah. Okay. So he's doing Roman riding. And it's not just like Roman riding, like 1 foot on each of the two horses, both of the two horses. There's 2 other horses. So there's 4 horses total and he's Roman riding all this. And then he's like, okay, well, would someone, and he's got this great Australian accent, like to come down and participate. And so I'm thinking, absolutely not me. But he, if it was like to, brush a mane, I would be all over that. But I'm like, okay, I don't know what's involved here. So this younger woman goes down there and he has her attempt some of these Liberty things. And then he said, do you ride? And she said, yes. And so he gave her a leg up. So this horse is bareback and bridleless. And he does the cue for rear. Yeah, I mean, but she looked like she was a stunt rider too, because she wasn't fade. If it had been me, I'd be like, yeah, I ride, not well, and then be like, but wait, what are you gonna, like all the overthinking and yeah. But anyway, so that I'm sure that's a thrill she'll never forget. So then from there, we went to Old Friend's Farm, and I got to feed carrots to Silver Charm, who is the world's oldest Kentucky Derby winner, very handsome gray distinguished gentleman.
I believe it was 1997, was it?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Wow. Yeah, he's one of my favorites.
He's adorable. Yeah. And a lot of the horses are in their 20s and some in their 30s and they look amazing, which just goes to show you what it's like when a horse can be turned out in beautiful fields and graze and, be able to move around and that. So that was really fun. And then we went and had lunch at the USHJA, and I didn't realize there's a museum. Oh gosh, I'm going to probably screw up the name, but basically like for hunter jumper sport, there's a museum and archives there. And that was pretty cool. And then we got to roam around Kentucky Horse Park.
Fun. If anyone
that's what you missed
there, they need to go. I've been many a time, but I didn't know about that museum or anything. And I haven't been to Double Dan. I have been to Old Friends a few times. And many, many, many bluegrass tours, but all of them are amazing. They're like the stuff of dreams. When you drive into Kentucky, I'm literally like, I just want to be taking like a nonstop picture of the scenery while I'm driving past it.
For sure. But lest I forget, you, my friend, okay, so at the banquet, I was not at your table, but you were looking quite fancy wearing a dress. And then I saw you having your photo taken and could barely contain in your arms, these plaques, these awards and certificates and stuff. So don't be shy. Tell us about your winnings.
Well, it was a absolute bang up year. I couldn't believe it. It was amazing and surreal. but Horse Illustrated had, entered some articles. There's various categories you can enter, and we won first place in editorial design for our Journey to Iceland, which was written and photographed by Shelley Paulson and laid out by our extremely talented art director, Cindy Cassabaum. So that was a first place plaque. And the other first place plaque was a article called 1,200-Pound Pill. And that was in, I believe it was personal column was the category. And so I had received a submission. People send me blind pitches all the time that I don't know and they don't know me. And they just send it to my inbox. And I get so many, and it's very rare that one catches my eye, but this one absolutely did. The writer Kim Harrison actually was a writer for Criminal Minds, which is one of my favorite shows of all
Wow.
time, that I've watched for many, many, many years. And so that caught my eye in her bio, and then I read her story, and it was about her two sons with ADHD and how riding helped during COVID. Everyone's cooped up in the house and, they're being prescribed all this medication. And, she really just felt like, what are we going to do? What are these kids going to do? So she found a riding program. Anyway, it's an amazing story, and I'm sure it'll be on the website. If it's not already, but we can put that in the show notes if anyone's interested.
Oh, please. Yeah.
And then we got second place in that category as well with one of Dr. Deal's stories. She's our vet writer who tells just very funny and unbelievable but true stories about being an on-call vet. And she won first place last year, one of her personal columns, and second place this year. And we had another second place, and then we had two third places. So it was just
awesome.
An arm load. It was crazy, absolutely crazy, but a lot of fun.
Good work. Excellent job. You do an excellent job.
Well, thank you. I just curate. So it's thanks to the writers, photographers, art director, all of the talent behind it all. But it takes a lot of people to make it happen. So it was a exciting night, but I want to know story about the true winner, which every table has a Breyer horse centerpiece. And this year, instead of doing one Breyer on every table, the same one, there were a different model on every table. And our friend Liz Moyer won our tables. It was a little Palomino Cremello, something very cute, very, very cute. But sadly, I really want it. Every year I want it. Everyone wants it. And then Susan sends me a text while I'm sitting there eating dinner. I won, and it's her holding the Breyer. So tell me, Susan.
Well, okay. At the risk of being judged by our listeners. Okay, so I have never won the Breyer. I've been going to this conference almost every year since 2014. So that's a lot of losing because I go to the banquet and then, they have the raffle ticket at the table. There's about 10 people at the table, and then you each take the thing, and people get really competitive and funny. And I think this just goes to show how much we love Breyer model horses. But anyway, so this year, our table had the most exquisite gray hunter, and it's in the jumping position. So I incorrectly said it was a show jumper. I hadn't really noticed the braids and everything, but and I didn't know who it was. And so long story short, I don't know if I should name names of who was at my table, but people,
put them all out there.
Okay. So, all right. So Shelley Paulson, photographer extraordinaire, whose Iceland photos and all that, did great. So she was across the table from me, and we're friends. And then Sarah Maslin-Neer, who's a new friend of mine, and I've long admired her writing. She wrote Horse Crazy and The Jockey and Her Horse. I've known her in the online space, but had never really met her in person, had not met her in person. So she's sitting next to me. And then another editor friend from a magazine I won't name, but she's a lovely human. So you would think that since they're my friends, they would be supportive of my dream to go home with this beautiful gray Breyer horse. But reached before, the raffle or anything. Like we're just getting started. And I'm like, it's so beautiful. And so I reached to the center of the table to position it better so I could take a photo for social media. And Shelly's sitting across from me and I kind of get a scowl. And then Sarah and this other woman, they were kind of like, what are you doing? Like, they were just making a big fuss, like that I was going to maybe pocket the Breyer horse, which, would be difficult to do because it's large and it has a stand because it's in a jumping position. So then I kind of said something like, tonight is my night to win. And I don't really believe in manifesting, but it can't hurt. But I do believe in prayer. And so this is like so ridiculous. So I did okay, please, Lord, like looking up to the skies, like, well, so then the time came to do the raffle, and none of us trusted each other at the table because, if we were acting like civilized, normal humans, probably one of us could have, pulled the ticket out. But we were like, well, who are we going to have do that? Like it was just this drama situation. Well, the audiovisual guy from the conference center was sitting behind us. And so I think it was Sarah was like, you need to do this for us. And so this poor young man came over and I said, you do realize that one person is going to love you and the rest of the table is absolutely going to hate you. So he was like smiling. And then he read the ticket number really dramatically. So I'm looking at it and it was like, oh, I didn't win yet again. Well, Anna sitting next to me and my friend, and she was being very on the down low this whole time. And she's another writer, was the winner. And when she realized she had the ticket, she looked at me and she said, you can have the horse. So, okay, the funniest part was that got the people at the table even more irate. And when I say irate, they didn't really hate me. They weren't really being mad. It was all in fun. And Sarah says to Anna, what has Susan ever done for you? And she said, well, a lot, actually, which I thought was amazing. So I was very flattered and humbled. And so then, of course, I had to take pictures of me because I felt as though I had won an Academy Award or something. And then I have an email newsletter for my, Saddle Seeks Horse blog readers. And so I sent out about my major award. And I said, like, if anyone happens to know which Breyer this is, because they didn't have boxes for them. So they just gave me some bubble wrap to take it home. So I put the photo in there, and sure enough, I had a few people reach out and say, that's Get Rowdy. So his storyline is he was an eventer that was better suited to hunter derbies, I guess. And so I found some online stuff about him, and he's gorgeous in real life. So, yeah.
Well, it's funny. I knew that Breyer when I saw that you had that one. I was like, I think that's one because we give them away in every issue of Young Rider to our Me and My Horse. There's 5 kids that I pick to win every issue that get their picture in magazine, and each one of them gets a different Breyer every time. And I recognized that one. I couldn't remember what it was called, but I knew I'd seen that. So some of those kids are going around with it. It was beautiful. And that just reminded me of last year. Oh, there was one called Fireheart, like Appaloosa Mustang on all the tables. And I had never seen anything so beautiful. It was retired in 2021, so you can't buy it. And even at the time, it was a special edition, so it was way more expensive. So I was like, I have to win this thing. I have to. Like you, I was doing everything like, please, please let me win. It's my destiny. I know this horse is meant to be mine and blah, blah, blah. And I did not win it. A guy won it. And I'm like, a guy?
Oh, yes.
Guys don't even care. And it was
I was at your table.
Oh, you were at my table.
Yeah, he was like
okay.
from some horse racing. I won't say the name, but like and probably not into Appaloosas if he's a
or
thoroughbred
like
guy.
Breyers. Hello, like this is a girl. I mean, I don't want to say it's just for girls, but it tends to be much more female.
Yeah.
So anyway, he decided to just go ahead and take it home and keep it, and he seemed excited to display it or whatever. But
I wonder if we could reach out to him. Maybe I'll do this. I'll send him an email and I'll be like, I don't know if you remember me, but my friend was in love with
that. But I have a happy ending to this story.
Oh,
so I don't know if you even know this.
No.
So I reached out to AHP and I was like, I mean, this was seriously less than 6 months ago. And I'm like, I haven't stopped thinking about this prior for all these
I
months
can't
since
let it go.
age. I really just want, like, can you post this in the Facebook group? Like, I want to buy one off of somebody that won it last year. And they're like, well, we're not going to post that, but we have one still we can send you if you, and I'm not sure if I should even say what it was. They asked me to do something before the conference this
No,
year.
yeah.
So
Like to
just in
help out
case,
with the
like,
conference.
it's like something I'm not supposed to share. I won't, but it had to
Yeah.
do with one of the awards. So it required a bit of work and a few hours. And I said, oh, I'll absolutely do that. So I got it mailed to me and I
So
have it.
where is he? I don't see it. You've got
Oh, well, it's
secretary. I see a
in
lot of
my
horses.
glass bookcase downstairs.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So I just didn't want it anywhere that my 4-year-old is
Oh,
to like grab it and do something
right.
to it. Not that he does that kind of thing, but I just can't take any chances. It's up high, sealed away. Just
Yeah.
wait so I can see it, but like it's not gonna get all dirty.
That's a happy ending. That is a great story.
And yeah, I've looked on their website. You cannot buy it there. I'm sure you could pay $1 bazillion to find them online somewhere.
Yeah. Well,
Anyways,
I'm planning on heading back to Briarfest, so
yes,
I'll
Briarfest
ask.
again, Lexington, Kentucky. This one will be in July. I will be there. You will be there.
Oh,
So
you're gonna be there. Yeah. So we could find because those people, a lot of them know the models and they'll be like, oh yeah, that one. You could be sitting on a gold mine with that Briar.
but I'm never going to sell it.
Yeah.
It's my precious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to make like a shelf or something because I have all my favorite. I got a secretariat at Briarfest last year, and as you probably see, people listening can't, but I have a lot of secretariat memorabilia hanging up behind.
Hmm.
So I did buy the Secretariat Briar, not the special gold 50th anniversary, but just the racing one.
Yeah.
And then I bought a Harley track pony because he's my favorite track pony, the Appaloosa Draft. Because I'd always admired that horse and I love Appaloosas. I'm crazy for Appaloosas. So he always caught my eye at Churchill Downs and Keeneland, and they came out with his Briar in 2018. So I was looking through their catalog. Somehow they knew I had a young child and started sending me their holiday catalogs and was picking out some toys for him. And I saw Harley and I was like, well, that one's going to be for me. So I got Harley.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we should probably get on to the show, but I could talk about Briars for a long time. But we have such a special guest, and it's a familiar person to our listeners, Raquel Lynn from Horses and Heels and Stable Style. And she was my former co-host, is going to come back and catch us up to speed on life with baby and everything that she's working on out there in Los Angeles. So I'm really excited. And then we have another great adoptable horse. And this one, I think, is kind of a celebrity in the horse racing world.
For special rates on Horse Illustrated and Young Rider magazine subscriptions just for our podcast listeners, visit horseillustrated.com/barn banter.
I am delighted to have my former co-host Raquel Lynn here today, and we're going to find out how life with baby is going, learn more about her online empire with Horses and Heels and Stable Style. Welcome back, Raquel. It's so good to see you.
Hi, it's so weird and nice to be on the other side. I don't have to do anything.
Well, no, you have to answer all of our
Yeah.
probing questions. So for listeners that may be newer, Raquel was the OG co-host with me on the Barn Banter podcast, and she has since had her first child, and so we're just going to kind of catch up with her a little bit. And to start off, how has your transition to motherhood been? We want to hear all about baby London Lynn.
It's been really good. I think just a lot of ups and downs. I mean, some days it's so, I don't want to use the word easy because then people will think that I'm, like dismissing, the challenges of motherhood. But like some days I get so much done. And I'm like, I did these 10 things and I had my baby, you know what I mean? And she naps perfectly. And it's like she takes 2 2-hour naps and I have 4 hours to myself. And,
Wow.
those are the impressive days. And then there are the days that she just wakes up and she's like, you're not going to put me down today. And, you don't get that much done. So it's a lot of ups and downs, but she's 7 months old right now. And so we're out
Wow.
of that, yeah, that newborn phase. And so like her naps have just gotten a lot more consistent. It's like I understand her schedule and just her little personality and what she needs. So in some ways it's gotten a lot easier. And then I am, I work from home. So I'm privileged in that aspect. And a lot of times my husband works from home too. So he is out there, in the studio. In fact, right now, London is taking a nap and he's in the studio and he knows that if the monitor goes off, he's got to go grab her. So, it's helpful that we can have that system where sometimes I put her down for a nap and then I say, hey, like I'm going riding. Get the baby if she wakes up. And sometimes I come back before, the baby's awake from her nap. So it's, my situation is a little unique where I have, I have help from my husband during the day. And then some weeks, like last week, he was out of a studio working for 5 days. And so he wasn't home. So I wasn't able to, I had to do things in the morning. But yeah, it's definitely a transition. Like you learn what tasks you can do while the baby is awake, and then you learn like what you have to do while she's napping. So yeah, it's been great though. She's so sweet and she's at the age now where I like bring her outside with me in the morning and like we throw Fira a flake of hay and like she pets Fira in the morning and then we feed the chickens
Oh,
and it's like she sits on my knee and she's so excited when she sees the chickens. So she like starts clapping at them. It's really, really cute.
did I see a picture? Did you already have her on Fira's back?
Yes,
So
definitely. She's
she's
been,
ridden 7 months old and she is a cowgirl.
yeah, I think at 3 months old it was the first time she
Oh,
sat on Fira, and I took
oh,
like some photos. But yeah, we sat her on a couple weeks ago, and she's just petting. She's into touching and everything, so she's just petting the horse, and it's really cute. So I hope she loves riding, and I think she will.
I'm sure she will because she had many, many months of riding while
Yeah.
you were carrying her. All right. Well, you mentioned your husband, you mentioned Fiora and all that. So maybe let's back up a little further and get to know the family. Because I know what Adam does for work, but when you said
Yeah.
studio, I wonder if people are like, oh, is he an actor? Because I know they live in Los Angeles. So maybe just give us a little rundown on who's in your family and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so Adam is a music producer. So that's what he does. So he's basically, when I'm referring to studio, I'm referring to music studio. So he's kind of working on music all the time, every day. He has, some sessions where he works solo and then he has attended sessions. So it's like when he has an attended session, like maybe he starts at today, he's starting at 1 p.m. with a client. So that's very nice. Musicians do not get up early. So my husband's days, they don't start until much later and they go a lot later too. It's not uncommon for us to be eating dinner at like 9 o'clock at night because that's just
Wow.
normal for us as a family. So yeah, that's Adam. And then I have six silky chickens. They're adorable. And we have Fira in the backyard and we have Mango. She's a little Pomeranian. So got the whole animal squad. And now we've got London, who's 7 months old. So it's a lot going on over here.
Sounds awesome. And I want to go back maybe even a little deeper into history with you. And
Yes.
I know, because I'm very familiar with, you have two blogs, Horses and Heels and Stable Style, but maybe take us back to the beginning and paint a picture for us of like how you decided that you wanted to start a blog and then share a little bit of the evolution.
Yeah. So I'll take you way back to the beginning, where I first met my husband, Adam, actually. We were both interns at a recording studio back in Cleveland, and that's how we met. Interns basically who I had a boyfriend, he had a girlfriend. So like when we met, we kind of just didn't really, think of one another like that. And my job as an intern, eventually was introduced me to social media. So I didn't have a Facebook account or anything. And they ended up hiring me for a startup record label. and I was kind of in charge of running all the different bands and their social media, which, by the way, none of that exists anymore. Money was very mismanaged, and that
Oh,
all
no.
went downhill within a couple of years. But hey, I got my husband out of that, so that was it was worth it, and that kind of introduced me to social media, and that was kind of when I started thinking about doing the blog. And basically, the company, because of mismanagement, it was like I had a job one day, and then the next day I came in and they're like, hey, we can't pay you anymore. So I had to scramble and find a job, just to get money out of necessity. So I started working as an executive assistant for this guy at a hedge fund, which was very boring. I mean, finance, me, no thank you. Um, and he was a very intense person. And so definitely put me through the ringer and stressed me out. And that was before Sunday scaries was even a term. And I had them. I mean, I used to like cry on like Sunday afternoons because like he would start emailing me like things to do on Monday. And like I already knew what the week was going to be like. And I was just like, I can't do this. And so that's when I kind of had the idea for Horses and Heels. Like, I wanted to start a blog. And at the time, there weren't a lot of bloggers, but the Pioneer Woman was around. And I had like followed her. And I was just like, wow, like what she does is so cool. And you just like have this website and, you post things. And so I was like, I could do that. So she was my inspiration. And then what I started doing is just bringing my laptop into work. And when I didn't have anything to do, I would just pop it open. And I started designing my blog and, coming up with all these ideas and stuff. And I remember when I first started, like, it was very, very different. Like, I would, showcase like products or, I started like reaching out to companies and like selling banner ads and stuff. And it was a very kind of like slow start, but it was all very organic. Like I just shared stuff that I was like passionate about and a lot more. I know you used to read it, but a lot more DIYs and like cooking and stuff like that. So I kind of just was learning as I was going along. And so that's how Horses and Heels came to be. Um, and then, there came to be a point where I was still working that job, hated it very much. And decided I wanted to quit. And so that's what I did. And I probably quit before I was ready, but like same thing, like you're never really ready. And the cost of living was a lot lower in Ohio. So I didn't need to make as much money back then to survive. So yeah, it was
Raquel,
2013.
I was just going to ask you what year
Yeah.
that was. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's
Excellent.
when I've been self-employed for basically 11 years, which is crazy.
Amazing. And what advice, this wasn't a planned question, but I love your spirit of just designing the work that you want to do. And I think a lot of people maybe would shy away from that, or you go with the thing
Yeah.
that's a given, like this is my steady paycheck and I need. So do you have any insights for people? Because I can't imagine you want to say to everyone, oh, just go for your dream, because it probably depends on life
Yeah.
circumstances and all of that. But do you have any words of wisdom to share with someone who may want to try something different?
Yeah. So, I think it's interesting because what you were saying is like, yeah, you can't just throw caution to the wind because we do have responsibilities and bills, but you also can follow what's easier. Because, for example, for me, Horses and Heels started out as my baby, and that's all I intended to do. Now, um, I'll get back to your question in a second, but stable style became a section on Horses and Heels. And so I started sharing these barns, and people really liked it. And the views and the response was so good that I started thinking to myself, well, I kind of want to just do this now. And I was like, no, you can't abandon your project because I'm a project person. I love the idea of a new project. And so I thought about it for a while, and that's when I decided to start Stable Style. And I said, hey, I'm going to just start a separate thing because people like this content. And I've done a blog from scratch before. I know how it works. So this will be so much easier. And it was. and the following and everything grew so much quicker. And obviously, I've turned that into a blog, a candle line, a book, having it kind of just has its own like life now. Getting back to your question, if there's something that you want to do and you're miserable like I was, then you absolutely have to try it, but you have to do it in a way that once you find like your audience and your following or whatever it is that you're trying to go after, you have to be willing to adjust. And so for me, it was realizing that, hey, maybe horses and heels isn't as popular as stable style. And at first that kind of like hurt a little bit because I was like, oh, people don't, I do have my following there, but stable style gets so many more views because it's not about me. It's about the barns. And I'm okay with that. I'm totally fine with just being anonymous behind stable style and just coming up with these tours. So in some ways, take the risk, but then I think you need to go in and you need to edit and you need to come up with your plan and your idea. And then you need to just kind of figure out what works. And my favorite, like, I guess, line of advice, I don't know if you asked this, but is fail fast. So like, meaning you need to figure out what doesn't work and figure it out quickly. And then from there, just kind of edit and change and keep doing that. And I think maybe that's also the best advice is just keep changing. Because if you see something that's working, like follow that path or follow that trail. And maybe you're like, oh, I didn't want to do this sort of business, but here I am. You know what I mean? Like I didn't really think that I was going to have a candle line, but that just kind of happened. And here I am. So I think follow what's easier.
All right. And then, wow, I have like so many questions based on that. But so take us back to stable style. So you started the blog and it's kind of like an architectural digest for beautiful barns. And maybe share with us like a favorite barn tour that you have, or if people who are listening have a barn that they would like for you to consider putting on the blog. Maybe just tell us a little bit more about it.
And I have a question off that too. Is like, how in the world do you find so many of these amazing palatial barns? Like, are people submitting them? Are you going out trying to find? And did they send you the pictures? Do you have to visit them? I have so many questions about like the content.
Yeah. So it's both, but people definitely submit. And then I just have like over the years, I have a lot of relationships with stall companies, architects, builders that we just have like a really good rapport. And so whenever they finish up a barn project, they send it to me. And that's really nice because they're getting them professionally photographed. They're sending me a link to all the photos. And then we go back and forth and we do like a little questionnaire. Just to get the details about the barn. And so then from there, I'll put all the photos that I'll go through, I'll pick them. I kind of, make sure they flow and then we'll just write about it. So I get submissions all sorts of ways. And then I have individual people and it's really cool. Like they've been following Stable Style for a while and they're like, hey, like one day, like I'm building a barn and it's going to be on Stable Style. And then like 2 or 3 years later, like they're like, hey, remember me? Like, here's my barn. So that's really cool because someone actually just reached out and she had messaged me a couple years ago and now like her animal sanctuary in Florida she just had a friend photograph it and she just sent me photos and yeah, so it's going to be there. So it's a lot of just submissions. As much as I would love to travel to these barns and photograph them myself, I don't have the time for it. Mm-hmm. So, maybe one day, but yeah, that's kind of how I get all the submissions. And then just on the Instagram, people are always DMing me photos and then I'll be like, do you have more photos? I'll help them maybe find a photographer, that sort of thing.
Now let's talk about the project you're working on. Yeah. So you have the candles, which are amazing. And we want to hear all about that and updates. But then you have this beautiful coffee table book. I think it's behind me on my shelf, actually. Yeah. Stable Style Barn Inspiration for All Equestrians.
Yeah.
And you're working on a second one?
Yes, I am. So that came out in 2020, which was 4 years ago. Crazy. And yeah, I've been always wanting to do the second one, but I felt like a little bit stuck on timing. Sometimes you're like, when is the right time. And funny enough, I'm like, oh, I just had a baby, so like let's make it real challenging and let's try and put out a book. But I am spending a little more time inside with her. And so I was just like, you know what? I think I can make this work. So it's similar to the blog, it's submission based, which I didn't do for the first one. For the first one, I had reached out to the different architects and builders and people that I had relationships with. But for this one, I mean, I'm reaching out to my builders and stall companies and like letting them know. And I'm like, hey, if you want to submit, you can submit. Also, anyone listening, they may submit. The deadline for submissions is July 1st. And I can give you a little link on the show notes for the Google Doc where people can submit their projects. But yeah, there's a lot of really cool barns that I have committed from just different builders and architects right now. So it's all in the works and I pretty much do everything. It goes in InDesign and I arrange. And actually, Holly, you helped edit the first book. So
I can't
yeah,
believe that was 4 years ago when you said that. My mind was just
Wow.
yeah.
Amazing. So, Raquel, what are some of the trends you're noticing with barn design?
I think that just a lot of high ceilings, open airflow, a more focus on ventilation. I mean, I would say that a lot of people are leaning toward, I mean, it depends on your horse and like your lifestyle, but a lot of people are they're opening up the partitions in the barns and letting the horses, interact with each other. And,
Mm.
I know you have to be mindful of quarantine and new horses and stuff like that. But there are some really cool barns that I've been getting where it's an open barn. Like they still have stall fronts, but then behind there, it's like the horses kind of just have like a paddock and then they have like more space. So I think in general, people are leaning towards just having like a more sociable barn for their
Mm.
horses. And I think
And
that's
that's
really
like a
nice.
big European thing that I just learned when we
Yes.
did a Lipizzaner stud story is that they just let the mares and foals be in like a group stall that's absolutely gigantic, like the whole half of the
Yep.
barn. And it just looks really weird to us because we don't do that. So I'm fascinated that that's sort of starting to happen. I think it's
Yeah. And they have like the paddock paradise. I don't know if you've like heard about that, where it's like
Oh,
they'll make like the outdoor paddock area where it's like they have a little gravel area, they have like mulch because it's like good for like their hooves, and then they'll have like trees and stuff like that, or like stumps for them to like gnaw on or basically like pick up their feet. So it's like instead of us making our horse do ground poles, it's like they have to kind of
oh.
navigate the terrain in their man-made paddock. It's resembling like nature. So that's really cool.
Is that a European thing or that's something that
That's,
people are
I've
doing
seen
here in the
that. We did
States?
a story on that. It's popular in the US, well, gaining popularity, I should say.
Yeah.
It's definitely kind of along the like barefoot horse thing where like, yeah, you want their feet
Yeah.
to get hardened up and you kind of put feeding stations like posts with a hay net hanging along this racetrack.
Yeah.
Instead of a square field, you sort of have a racetrack and you can move the edges if you use electric tape. But yeah, the whole like there's terrain up, down, trees, gravel, mud, different things to step up. I think it's very interesting. I mean, it's work to
Yeah.
make it, but the horses are very interested when they're out there. So
Yeah. I think it's really cool.
Okay, now we got to hear all about the candle line. I know because you're always doing something new, and I'm sure you have ideas for upcoming holiday and that. So get us up to
Yeah.
speed.
So the stable style candle line is horse themed. Shocker. So the popular candles are Tack Room, Clean Barn, Fancy Barn, Luxe Barn. They all come in basically these really beautiful ombre jars. They have gold foil like stamped on them. So they're really pretty. And I guess my inspiration behind that, I've always been a little bit of a candle addict. And I always see the candles with the sticker labels. And those are cute, but I'm always like, oh, I want to make a fancy candle. So basically, that's what I did. I, created, and my candles have a wooden wick and they come in like a cute like box. So it's a really nice like gift item. And they've been really popular. And of course, they do not smell like the barn because everyone's like, oh, that just Clean barn has vanilla and sandalwood in it. I don't know if your barn smells like vanilla and sandalwood. Also, disclaimer, because I get this sometimes, don't burn your candles in your barn.
Oh
They're,
no.
they are for your house. Like I've had
Ah,
sometimes comments and being like, well, candles aren't safe in the barn. I'm like, I know they're not safe in the barn.
okay,
They're
that's hilarious.
they're for your house, everyone listening. They're just inspired by the barn and named after the barn. But yeah, they're really pretty. And I just like, when I see them like in my own house, I'm like, oh, they enhance the decor and they just
Mhm.
kind of make me smile. So that's what I did. I just made a candle that makes me happy.
Well, we all need to feel that barn happiness when we're not at the barn, because the reality is we can't
Yeah.
be there 24/7. So we're in our homes much longer. So to have something that evokes that mood, that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, I think we're winding down. Holly, did you have any questions? But I want to
Well,
keep talking, Raquel, because
I
I miss
know.
you.
I just
I
want to
know.
say, like, the people that want the adorable pictures of the chickens and the baby with the horse, those are on your Horses and Heels Instagram usually, right?
Yeah.
So that's a
Yeah.
lot of fun to follow. I enjoy it. But yes, I love seeing any like pony content mixed with chickens, babies, everything. The dog, I have a Pomeranian too, so I love seeing her. So
Yeah. No, it's fun. And that's what I like about Horses and Heels. It's like it can just be my personal Instagram and, that can be just whatever I feel like posting. So
Mhm.
it's very fun.
Okay. So tell us where all the places are where we can find you and all that you do.
Yeah, so you can find me mostly on Instagram. So at Stable Style, at Horses and Heels, and there is an underscore after it. But if you start typing in Horses and Heels, I will pop up. I'm also on Facebook, Stable Style and Horses and Heels. I am on Pinterest. So if you're looking for barn inspiration and you want to save those barns, go find Stable Style on Pinterest. And both sites, horsesandheels.com or stablestyle.net, also stablestyle.shop for the candles and the book and all those goodies. And that's where I live, a lot of places.
Well, thank
cute.
you.
Yeah, thank you
Thank you.
so
Thank
much.
you. We're so happy to have you on the show. And please come back some other time.
Yes, it was great to catch up and thanks for having me.
So joining us today is Phyllis Smith. She's executive director of February Star Sanctuary. So Phyllis, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
And we have a really cute and very accomplished, handsome bay horse to talk about today named Admiral's War Chest. And he was the winner of the 2015 and 2016 Maryland Million. So I would love to know all about him and how he came to be with you all.
After his race career, the breeder and the owner of, the actual race facility just decided that, he really needed to go to a sanctuary home. He was really hard to handle at first. So he was one of those horses that when he came, he's hard to trailer. He's hard. You can't tie him. You can't do a lot of things. He could just go really fast. And he was really never taught brakes or manners. And now he's been by far our longest horse that we've ever had here. But right now he's finally at a point where we really think he would make a good addition to somebody because he's been in training and, the general manners he's finally learning.
Awesome. And what type of talents are you seeing with him? What type of owner and family do you feel like he would be a good fit for?
Right now, it was really shocking. We first started him out with just some, light English pleasure, but he actually really enjoys jumping. He's one of those horses, he can jump, he likes to jump. So I'm hoping that we get somebody that at least wants to do some kind of fun jumping with him.
Great. And does he have any physical limitations or anything like that?
I mean, he's one of those horses, no matter what, he needs maintenance on his feet. We've just found it best to keep him barefoot, and then he can only get a light trim. He's just one of those horses we've kind of over the years just learned his, is just kind of things that you can't do with Admiral. You can't cut his feet short. He has to, you have to take your time with everything you do. But that's the only thing, just to really watch his feet.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. And it sounds like he's more on the higher energy spectrum,
Yes.
but that can be okay for someone who's interested in jumping. Myself,
Oh, yeah.
I'm an eventer. So I love to go fast and jump, and it's hard to find horses that actually like to do that. So I think a horse like this, could really find
Yeah,
someone.
he really
a great fit.
likes, yeah, he's high energy and, he wants to be doing something the whole time. And he makes sure he has your full attention. He's not one of the horses that you could be like, oh, I'm doing this with this horse. I'm doing it this horse. He needs an owner that's going to give him full attention, ride him 3 times a week, make sure that all this training that he's had, stays.
Right. Absolutely. And can you also tell us a little bit about your sanctuary? I saw that you take in horses and cats, and I thought that was an interesting combination, but my 2 favorite animals. So I'd love to hear more about that.
Yes, mine too. So, well, we have the sanctuary is on 124 acres, and we have a huge bank barn. And, we're here in Maryland, Frederick, Maryland. It's just a need a lot of times for cats. They just don't have a place to go. So we do barn cat adoptions. We have a couple other different programs with teaching kids, just general animal compassion and care. And then the horses, just over the years, it's grown and grown, since we became a right horse partner. And then like this month is Adopt a Horse Month. So it's just really grown over the years. Just with every year we add another, fencing. We put in a riding ring. We've had, we've been trying to grow just to make sure that the horses we have, we can get them in the best possible spot. Same thing with the cats.
Absolutely. So if someone is interested in this guy, how do they reach out to you?
The best way is right on the My Right Horse website. There's an inquiry form, or you could go to our personal website, which is www.februarystar.com, or follow us on Facebook. We are always posting videos, updates on the horses. And, we have all different ways to be part of the sanctuary. We have volunteers, sponsors. We have lots of little events to come out and to meet the horses before you adopt or meet the cats.
Sounds great. Well, I wish I was not as far away as California. Yes, I would love to come meet some cats. But that sounds great. If anyone is closer to that area, to drop by and see what you guys have there. It sounds like a great place. So, well, Phyllis,
Awesome.
Thank you so much for being on with us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Don't be shy. Show us some barn banter love by leaving a review, and you can tell all your friends too.